The latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. Podcast One owner Live One unveiled Live One membership after we went to press on Friday. It'll launch in 2022 and offer music, podcasts, live events, prizes and NFTs. Entravision has acquired South African digital ad company 365 Digital, who monetize TikTok in the country. Entravision bought Cisneros Interactive, who represents Spotify audio ads in Latin America, in September. Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports, has denied sexual misconduct accusations, according to NBC. Stock of the Barstool Sports owner, Penn National Gaming, had plunged 20% following the news, which also coincided with poor Q3 2021 results. And released last week, the Podcaster's Audio Handbook is a technical guide for creative people about podcasting from Corey Marie Green. We link to that today from our show notes and our newsletter. And thank you to Paul Blanchard of the Media Masters podcast for increasing your personal support. His podcast contains long-form interviews with people at the top of the media world. The current episode is with Zach Seward, the co-founder and CEO of Quartz. We appreciate your support, Paul. And in People News, Deirdre Fenton has been hired as Executive Director of Unscripted for Meadowlark Media. She was at ESPN and DAZN, or is it DAZN or DAZN? No idea. Mary Beth Smith has been appointed as the Chief Marketing Officer for StoryCorps, the non-profit organisation telling humanities stories. Lisa Kennedy has been promoted to Chief Development Officer. And Erica Cruz Guevara has been confirmed as host of KQED's The Bay podcast. She's been with The Bay since 2019 as producer. It's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff. Cross-app comments are now testing in some podcast apps. The podcast social tag allows listeners to leave comments on a variety of platforms, some of which may be directly visible within podcast apps. We'll link to the proposed specification today in our show notes and our newsletter. The first cross-app comments went live in last Friday's Podcasting 2.0 episode, and you can see those comments after opening the player at the bottom in the Comments tab for the latest episode in Podfriend. Over 222 podcasts now use Satoshi's Stream, a simple way to enable value for value. Castamatic is the latest podcast app to include support for the podcast index and value for value. It features a machine learning auto leveler, a silence skipper, and additional features. It's time to short subscriptions and go long on Lightning, says Roy Scheinfeld from Breeze. Pay as you go rather than subscriptions for things you don't use is the future, he reckons. And our podcast on YouTube now includes some subtle audio visualization. FFmpeg can do that visualization for you. We link to more information on how and the FFmpeg command that we use. And in podcast news, in Podcasting 2.0 this week, Adam Curry and Dave Jones talk to Craig and Matt from Castos. We link to a link in Podfriend today, which will show you transcripts and podcast chapters using the new podcast namespace. The cult monster horror movie Tremors in 1990, starring Kevin Bacon, was one of the most rented films at the time. Tremors Making Perfection goes deep into the making of the movie with cast and crew interviews, insights and detail. Launched on Friday, it's produced by Little Dot Studios. The Retrospectors is a daily podcast from Rethink Audio, celebrating 1 million downloads since its launch in May. Starring Ollie Mann, one of the UK's first podcasters. Each episode features 10 minutes on a curious moment from this day in history. And Player 456 is, and you might not need telling this, a show about Squid Game. It's the first from the UK, and it takes a deep dive into the Korean show that's captivated the world. Produced by Quite the Thing Media, it's released 3 times a week. And that's the latest from our newsletter. For all the links, we're at podnews.net.